What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, most likely there's going to be a good amount of momentum that does roll over from last week because of Powell's comments into this upcoming week. Lucid didn't really participate in the Friday push higher, but it might have a delayed push come Monday and Tuesday, because in theory, the EV market is very sensitive to interest rates, and Powell did allude to a 25 basis point cut for the upcoming September 17th meeting. So in theory, Lucid should kind of move up accordingly, but once I go over the technicals near the end of the video, it'll make a little bit more sense. But as far as data points, there's not really all that much in the first half of the week. There is on Tuesday consumer confidence, and in the past that's moved the market slightly, nothing significantly though. But like I said, in the second half of the week, we do have on Thursday GDP, and then on Friday PCE, followed by Michigan consumer sentiment. So a lot of big data that has really proven that it can move the market. So just kind of watch for a lot of those. And then aside from that though, companies unveiling their earnings. So a lot of big names, more specifically NVIDIA. And so of course, whatever happens to them will trickle down to a lot of different sectors, including, I would say, EV sector. So let me know your viewpoint on that. So that's going to be coming out Wednesday after hours. And then, so you're going to have the Wednesday and then the Thursday data followed by the Friday data. So should make for a very interesting time. As far as specific to Lucid, the only thing that they have is going on, looks like today and over this weekend, and that's in San Francisco, Electrify Expo. And so far, I haven't seen them post anything on social media about this yet. So I don't know if it's anything special, but clearly I know a lot of these expos, they haven't really been posting as much as they once were, so maybe it's just nothing really crazy or new. So I don't really see any catalyst this upcoming week specific to Lucid. There is one thing I do want to draw to your attention though. This post right here seems to be gaining a little bit of traction. So it says that there is unconfirmed news, so this isn't the first time I guess Lucid investors are speculating on some sort of partnership. But reason why I'm bringing this up is it kind of does somewhat make sense, but there is unconfirmed news on social media about Gulf Investment Fund's desire to acquire a 10 to 20% stake in Lucid's ownership. And so for those of you that watch my channel, you'd know when they announced the whole reverse stock split, I've called BS since day one. It did not make sense why you wanted to do the reverse stock split to get out of penny stock status. It just doesn't make sense. So I did mention that potentially SoftBank might be looking at investing, because I think they've made a lot of advances and interest in getting in the EV sector once again after Cruise. So it is what it is. In my opinion, this is just another speculation thing. I did actually post to this right over here, and it doesn't actually match. So that Gulf Investment Fund doesn't actually invest in any EV. So primarily it's financials, industrials, mostly in Saudi Arabia. So that I guess would kind of make sense. But even looking at their top holdings, nothing that is and would be kind of comparable to Lucid. So in my opinion, yes, a investment fund looking at Lucid would care about their penny stock status. Does this one make sense? Not so much. So as far as, like I said, actual true catalysts, I don't really see anything coming out this week. Of course, by the end of Friday, so going into the following week, we are going to have the whole reverse stock split fully effective. So that's going to be done for September the 2nd. So that should make for a very interesting time. So this is the last week that we will be seeing kind of the $2 range and so forth. Aside from that though, just to give you guys a full overview of everything, there was this 8K that was submitted after hours on Friday. And for those of you that watched my video on, I think it was earlier on Friday, or it might have been on Thursday, that I said that, hey, they are actually missing the 8K, and this is very abnormal for them. So it shows that they are in a rush to give notice for the whole reverse stock split. Turns out they did this right here. So you have the votes for 2.4 billion, votes against 35 million. So just based on this amount of voting, we clearly know the PIF was in favor of it. So rather unfortunate if you ask me, but then again, I think the writing was on the wall. They wouldn't have proposed a reverse stock split if you didn't have the backing of the PIF. This is why, like I said, I didn't really care to even vote, because I know my votes, your votes, every single institution's votes does not matter. If the PIF wants something, it's going to be done, as bad as that sounds. So I know I kind of got in some arguments even on Twitter saying, hey, you need to vote no, like this is us, we need to stand up to the man. It doesn't make sense. We weren't going to win this fight no matter what. But nonetheless, though, they did submit it rather delayed, but still it is what it is. Going into this upcoming week, 33.17% of the free float is being shorted. We're said to be 416.35 million shares overall being shorted. In my opinion, I'd like to say that we are peaked and that shorts will start to return, but given just the broader sentiment, I do feel that shorts are going to continue to increase throughout the week. And most likely on Monday, we are going to see a all-time high short interest. So leading into today, 33.27% of the free float being shorted. That was all-time high numbers. So we're pretty much just inches away from that. So most likely on my Monday video, you will be hearing me say we are at all-time high numbers. So I don't know if that's something to jump up and down in excitement over. I guess if you believe in squeeze plays, then that might get you excited, but still, I would rather say no. Aside from all that though, looking at the bulls standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be kind of between that 2 to 250. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 2. Based on the open interest, you did have 3,000 at the $2 strike price. So that's chump change. That's not going to amount to any bump up in the price. Looking forward into this upcoming week, you have 5,000 at that 2, 19,000 at that 250, and so forth. So I'm not even going to bring up $3 and above because I don't see that being hit whatsoever. So by Friday, if Lucid is still roughly around that $2 range, you might see shorts try to suppress it, just to ensure that this or as many options expires worthless. So as I've mentioned in the past, both shorts and market makers kind of have a financial interest in this, and they seem to be working together for the most part. Aside from that though, going into this upcoming week with it at 203, it is now trading between this S1 and this S2. So $1.74 is going to be that next strong support. 207 will be that key pivot. If you're going to see any sort of recovery, you're going to get it and need to get over that 207 very early on in the week, which, as I've brought up in the past, I do see a abnormal amount of random accounts posting on Twitter saying Lucid is poised for a breakout. I don't really understand their technicals that they're drawing. They just draw random lines and say, hey, it's time to go up. I feel like just a lot of people don't really understand it, and it's kind of crazy. I don't know if some of you have actually started to think very critically about your own investments, but once you actually do, you start to see a crazy amount of pumpers and a lot of individuals that just know nothing, in my opinion. And there's a lot of people, like I said, on Twitter more specifically, just drawing random lines and saying, hey, Lucid's ready for a breakout to $3, get in now while you can. It's interesting, but nonetheless, based on the LA Wave technicals, as I've brought up like a week ago, it is insinuating for it to hit roughly around that $1.80 range. So most likely for this week, it'll be not breaking below this S2, but it will be in kind of the high 1 range, which is rather unfortunate, but it's just the sentiment. And like I said in my video that I put out on Saturday, like the ball's in Lucid's court. Like they can, if they wanted to change the sentiment, they can easily do that just by using your own money, whether it be CFO, CEO, or any of the big names, and just stop getting awarded so many shares. Aside from that though, on the actual chart itself, there's nothing to really bring up as a positive. Aside from, the only thing positive is that it is very oversold. So if Lucid does actually have a good announcement, a good PR, whether it be a investment fund wanting to get in or something else, then yes, that would cause a nice push higher. But even for face value, a lot of the key pivotal moving averages that I generally like to look at, it's well below. So as far as what to expect, there is going to be more consolidation. It did retest the lows from here from June, so $1.98. So potentially it might bounce off of that once again, but I think based on everything in shorts, what they like to do is they like to break Lucid on a technical standpoint. So most likely they will really double down to ensure that it does close below and stays below that $1.98, thus kind of putting it roughly around that $1.74 as being the next strong target. So it is unfortunate. I really do like the vehicles, and even when I did recently test drive, and I know I haven't put that video out yet, I will. But even driving the Gravity, it's one sexy vehicle. And as much as people hate, even Tesla fans and everything, as much as people hate Lucid management and Lucid as a company, their product is very good. And this is why I do continue to believe in it and why I still continue to do videos. But I'm still going to be overly critical on them because I have high expectations of them, as should all of you. As soon as you start to lower your standards, then it's just you're accepting defeat, in my opinion. That's obviously, you guys do your own due diligence. So ultimately, by the end of this week, I do feel like there is going to be a little bit more pain, but hopefully Lucid does have something in their back pocket that they can give to the market, thus pushing it higher. So let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. Where do you see things going for this upcoming week? Do you see it going higher? Do you see it going lower? What's your general thoughts? And as I've shared with you on Moomoo, they actually do have a new tool for algorithmic trading. So I always bring up occasionally like, hey, most of the volume's coming from algorithmic trading. And this is the first broker that actually allows retail to set it up. There's a lot of different parameters that you can select, make it as complex or as kind of simple as you want. So highly suggesting signing up for Moomoo, link in the description below and also the comments. Plus, they also do have a pretty kick-ass promo where if you just deposit $100, they give you $50 back. So that in among itself is a pretty good return on investment. I'll put the link in the description below for that. But with all that said, I appreciate all of you watching, and eventually let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.